there, toy collector friends and Doctor Who fans in particular. Welcome back to the channel. I am the time-travelling toy collector, and this is the third and final set in the Doctor Who Hero Collector crossover Time Lord Victoria's Daleks range. We've seen the other two entries into the range in other videos. This time around we have the Dalek Executioner, as you can see here, and the Dalek Strategist, as you can see here. It comes in the usual branded box, along with a magazine, which we'll have a quick look at in a second, and the usual detailing on the box, which again I think stands alone as quite a nice presentation piece. Nice clear window, although perhaps some would argue an overuse of plastic that isn't necessarily as environmentally friendly as it could be, although if you are going to use it as a display piece, then that plastic isn't going to be thrown away, so it might be a little game of swings and roundabouts in that respect. So this is two more figures from the Hero Collector entry into the multi-platform story that is the Time Lord Victorious, which was essentially a combination of animation, live action, novelizations, comics, action figures, models, etc, etc, which were telling a multi-platform story that featured, if I remember rightly, the 9th Doctor, 10th Doctor and the 8th Doctor, as well as Daleks and various other characters that came into the storyline as it evolved. Met with mixed reactions, as you might expect, but what I would say hasn't received too much of a mixed reaction is the quality of the Dalek models associated with the range. So much like my other videos on this one, I'm going to go straight into cracking it open. I have already broken the seal just to make this bit a little bit less painful for anyone watching, he says, making it probably as painful as it's ever been. So I'm just going to slide this out, so apologies for the disruption to your viewing pleasure. And we'll pop this main body of the main event down over there. The magazine comes in its own little packaging there, which is quite easy to open. A little warning on the packaging to remind us not to put our mouths or our heads within it, because it'll kill us, which is, you know, useful to know and probably would please the Daleks. Again, it opens out into quite a nice picture of the two featured items here, the Executioner and the Strategist. But the magazine itself is A5 size, so actually works like this. So let's have a little look. We've got the Dalek Executioner pulled out there, pictures, we have lots of words, as you might hope. I've not had a chance to look at this yet, but I'm sure I will do. A little bit of a flashback to the William Hartnell years, some characters from other Doctors' timelines. There's the 5th Doctor appearing there. Special Weapons Dalek, which we've seen in the Dalek Parliament, along with the Lone Dalek there that we've also seen. Here we have the Dalek Strategist, who definitely in the animation looked worse for wear. I should mention at this point, anyone who's not familiar with this crossover series, these figures relate to an animated YouTube series that the BBC produced called, funnily enough, Time Lord Victoria's Daleks. And I think it was 10 5 or 10 minute episodes, but well worth a watch. It was entertaining, told an element of the story, and featured all of the Daleks you'll see in the Time Lord Victoria's Eagle Moss range. Here's a breakdown of the Dalek gunstick, which is actually very interesting. It looks a little bit like the interior of a lightsaber, but then what do I know? Here are some a bit more historical information, plus some shots of other Daleks that we will see in past and future Parliament box sets. Exit Strategy, which is a little bit of a short story that's included there, which is a nice touch, featuring some of the characters from the animated series. And then we have some biographies for the Executioner and the Strategist there and the back page. So a nice little addition to anyone's collection is the old Eagle Moss magazines. Let me just stand this up, and then we will zoom in a bit for this, but in all honesty I'm going to hold this up so that we can see it because I think that's going to be the easiest way of looking at this, and certainly how we've approached the others. Again, they're about 7 or 8 centimeters high. They are beautifully crafted. I know they're inside this plastic, but I have, as with all my Dalek Hero Collector reviews, I've left them in their packaging. This again, the Time of Victorious packaging isn't perhaps quite as artistically thought through as the Dalek Parliament set, because they're not individually packaged. That may have been a development point for if they had more budget allocated to it. But that said, it does work as a nifty 2-pack, and you can stand them up, display them in the box, or you could be brave and take them out of the packaging, which does an extremely good job, just give you a bit of a 360 in the first instance, of keeping everything protected from dust, from pet hair, etc. Because no matter how hard you try, these things can get onto your collectibles. I've got this, I'm using this review station now, and you'll occasionally notice pet hair that's crept even into that, despite almost airtight conditions to try and keep it out. But it's just so easily transmitted, like so many things these days. Anyway, let's go close on these Daleks and kick off with the Dalek Executioner here. Beautiful colour scheme, not dissimilar to some of the other Daleks we've seen in the past. We can see that his utility arm is a bit of a claw, not too dissimilar, if my memory serves, from the flamethrower arm of the execution squad of the Daleks on Mechanus, but also what's used by Daleks to cut through doors and other things. I'm thinking of the Daleks in the 9th Doctor finale story, Parting of the Ways, when they're cutting through some doors. They seem to have a similar attachment to that. The gun stick is quite short by comparison. The paint job on these figures is notoriously a mixed picture. And we'll talk about the specific paint job on the Strategist in a second. I think that is a conversation on its own right. But looking as we are here at the Executioner, we can see very clearly that the red bands around the sense spheres, sense globes, are very well pulled out. The slats, both on the headpiece as well as the neck piece, are reminiscent of both classic era Doctor Who stories as well as the Time War Daleks of late. And certainly the head section is very reminiscent of the Time War Daleks. So I think pragmatically this is a remould, and not a significant remould, of aspects of the bronze Time War Daleks. But, you know, fair enough. It is also reminiscent, as it should be, of that which was televised for us in the Daleks animation. And it is, overall, a really good piece. You can see the eye stalkers pulled out, the eyepiece is red, apologies for the blur there. See, I don't want the focus to focus on this one. When you have the Strategist to take into consideration. Take my word from it, there is a red pupil there. But yeah, this is a really, really well crafted, as you'd come to expect from Hero Collector, let's be honest. It'd be very disappointing if it wasn't the case. Well crafted piece of work that I think is a fine addition to the set. We have the Strategist, who has a slightly extended utility arm, but using them far more familiar sucker there, and a longer and slightly bowed exterminator gun. You can also see the difference in the eye stalk casings in the Executioner. It's the much more recent approach, whereas the Strategist, which I suggest, particularly as the livery, is very much of the old, very, very old school Daleks, even down to the panelling around the midsection. And certainly the decayed and fleckled paint that is very well applied here to convey that sense of decay and age. It is a very ancient Dalek. You can see the elements at the top are very, very battered and bowed and not straight and consistent. So subsequently, I think that Hero Collector has done an excellent job in encapsulating the age of this Dalek, purely through the paintwork, the banding. So this is this is a very specific remolding for this one. So I think probably this is very where the money has been spent on a remold or a reworking of an existing mold, whereas this is a repaint of an existing mold to an extent, with a couple of amendments along the way. But all in all, I think a really, really effective duo, and I'm really happy to have this in the Time Lord Victorious collection. I have previously mentioned that at some point I'll probably take these out and do a bit of either toy photography or display work with them. That still stands, and I maintain that is something I fully intend to do. And I think once I get the second Parliament of the Daleks box set fully examined and looked at, then I may well move to get all of these put out together. I'm just going to go in a bit closer with that aging Dalek Strategist, so just to really show you some of that texture there, because you could see that isn't just flaking off paint, that is actually giving us the sense of a corroded body form. It's hard to perhaps see it through the plastic, so maybe I should take it out. I'm just loath to at this point, but you can really see that that is battle damage and scoring that eats into the structure of that Dalek. There's a real sense that this particular casing has been, well, to say through the wars is probably a little bit overly flippant, but I would say many wars. And we can see that there's a shaved off sense globe there that's missing. I think there was something on the other side that looked a bit like that. So yeah, we can see down here that there's some significant damaging. There's some cracks in the casing that is really well pulled out. This is a very unhealthy Dalek, particularly compared to the somewhat pristine effect of the Executioner, who clearly just goes in and does his job. I think the Strategist is one who has learnt to survive, and quite right too. So there we have the Dalek Executioner and the Dalek Strategist from the Hero Collector Time Lord Victorious range. I'll zoom in a little bit for you as we wrap up here. So again, this wasn't a range I was going to collect, only because it became particularly available during a sale. Did it look suddenly quite appealing to me? Hence me jumping in with both feet and getting all three box sets. I'm really pleased that I did. It also encouraged me to get the Dalek Parliament sets, as you will probably know if you're following these videos. So yeah, would I recommend this? Well, it's up to you. They don't, as long-term followers of the videos will know, they don't scale well with the 5.5 figures from character options, but they do scale well with themselves, and I do now have quite a collection of these Daleks that are going to stand well together, and I do need to think about how I'm going to present them or display them, which I haven't fully done yet because I didn't anticipate purchasing them in the bulk that I ended up doing. So I do think what I will come back to is a bit of an unboxed revisitation of all of the Daleks, and we'll see what they look like there. And you might be able to then make a decision about whether or not this is something that you need in your collection. If you're a Doctor Who fan or a Dalek fan, then these are, frankly, unique to this range. So if I were you and you were that fan, then yes, I would suggest very much that they do belong in your collection. That said, you might want to check out Hero Collector and Eagle Moss websites, because these are very often included in some of their flash sales where there's 20%, 30%, 50% off their products, and you might be, as I was, very lucky and be able to get quite a score for a very, very low amount indeed. So that would be my advice and my tip. Anyway, I hope this has been useful for you. I very much have enjoyed presenting these alongside their counterparts, and as I say, I will revisit all of them and get them out of the box and actually give them some airing. I'll just slip that in there for a bit of background interest. But if you have found it interesting, if it has helped you be persuaded one way or the other regarding purchasing these for your own collection, then please do hit the like button while you're there. You could also subscribe to the channel, because I will be covering more Hero Collector Doctor Who material in the future, and I already have some existing playlists around Doctor Who Hero Collector figures and other Doctor Who, Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars, Star Trek, Supernatural, other things that may or may not be of interest that you're more than welcome to peruse and have a look at. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for staying with me for the last 15 or 16 minutes. Been very nice to have your company. You've been a wonderful audience. I've been the time travelling toy collector. These have been the last two Time Lord Victorious Daleks, the Dalek Executioner and the Dalek Strategist. It only remains for me to advise you not to get exterminated, to take care of yourself, and that I look forward to seeing you in a future video. In the meantime, do remember that a thing of beauty really is a toy forever. Take care for now. Bye-bye.